Okay. All right. Well, I thought I was live already. Apparently, I screwed up. Okay. So let's see if this does go out. Come on. Come on. Okay. There we go. All right. So sorry for the late start, folks. I just got through uploading my review for Madam Web. So I'm running a little behind. It started at 7, but I guess 10 minutes late isn't too bad. So time for another Classic Comics live stream. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks to everyone who will watch during the stream and tune in during a rewatch. All right. And by the way, since I just got my Madam Web review uploaded, I'll post that as soon as the stream's over. It's not going to be a long one. This will be pretty short. Maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes, something like that. So why don't we go ahead and just start with Madam Web, since that's kind of that's open this weekend, and it's not doing too well apparently. Let me bring up that story. Where is it here? I've got a couple of Madam Web related stories to talk about. Let's see. I brought up several of them for my video, so I'm trying to sift through them here and see if I can find the right one. Okay, that'll do. And then, okay. All right. And so this is from Screen Rant. Madam Web box office hits record low for Sony Spider Man movies. Yes, even worse than Morbius. The Madam Web box office struggles in its opening weekend, hitting a new low for the Spider Man universe. Madam Web, which stars Dakota Johson as a paramedic who sees the future, has hit a record low for the Sony Spider Man universe. The movies, which are loosely interconnected with the Marvel Cinematic Universe but largely form their own continuity, focus on various villains from the Spider Man comics. The franchise itself includes the 2018 hit Venom and its sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage. The Jared Leto led Morbius, which flopped in theaters, became a viral sensation and flopped again upon re release. And the upcoming Craven the Hunter. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, at least Craven probably won't flop as bad as this one. But yeah, that's going to be another turd. Per Deadline, the Madam Web box office is projected to earn a 6-day total of 24 million after opening midweek over Valentine's Day. This gives it a total of roughly 11 million between Friday and Sunday, which marks the lowest grossing opening of the entire SSU. However, even that 24 million 6-day total is beneath the franchise's previous low point, which was Morbius's opening of 39 million. The Madam Web release turning out to be a disappointing weekend isn't necessarily a surprise in the wake of the failure of Morbius. However, that vampiric outing could have proven to be an outlier, as it was the first movie in the overarching franchise to feature neither Venom nor Spider Man. Below, check out how Madam Web's 6-day total ranks against the 3-day opening weekends of the entire Spider-Man franchise, including their 2 animated Spider-Man movies and 3 collaborations with Marvel Studios starring Tom Holland as Spider-Man. And yeah, so here you have it. So Madam Web, 24 million over 6-day. Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse, 35.4 million. Morbius, 39 million. Venom, 80 million roughly. Venom Let There Be Carnage, 90 million. Spider-Man Far From Home, 92 million. Spider-Man Homecoming 117, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse 120.6 million. That's pretty impressive. And Spider-Man No Way Home, of course, way on top at 260 million. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was the previous record low for the entire franchise, proved that a Sony Spider-Man movie can become a sleeper hit after a lukewarm opening. However, its prospects were propelled by strong word of mouth and a certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes score of 97, with its strong critical reception eventually leading it to an Oscar win for Best Animated Feature. The Madam Web Rotten Tomatoes score stands at a dismal 13, so it seems unlikely to follow a similar path. You think? Ultimately, it may not even be possible for Madam Web to make a profit. The movie's estimated budget is 80 million or more, meaning that it will most likely need to make back at least 160 million worldwide before it ends up in the black. That's a total that Morbius, which holds a 15% score on Rotten Tomatoes, okay, Morbius isn't that bad, was unable to reach despite a significantly stronger opening weekend. Unless it can pull off a huge coup in the coming weeks, the future looks grim for the Dakota Johnson superhero outing. Yeah. Yeah, not looking good for Madam Web. And as they even said in the article, I mean, we all saw that coming, right? Now, probably the funniest part for me, let's see if I can bring this up, is Dakota Johnson said she's not even going to see the movie. Where is it here? Okay, and this is this is CTV News. Actually, let me try another one. Let me see here. All right, here we go. Let me bring this one up. Hey, Masters Maniac Mexico. Good to see you, sir. Oh, you actually saw the movie, huh? You actually went and saw it. Oh, you're asking me. Is that it? What a senseless waste of time was it watching this movie? Okay. Uh I mean, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. I'll refrain from comments because I've got my review up, so I'll yeah, feel free to check that out. But I think it's safe to say that yeah, it's not a good movie, and most people agree. There's just so many things. As I say in my review, it feels like the movie was rewritten extensively or cut extensively to me because there are just some things that seems like plot threads that got dropped, or don't go anywhere. Like there's the whole thing with the spider. The bad guy Ezekiel, he has this vision and he sees, these other spider people, these spider women killing him. Well, I won't get into it. It's just watch the video. But yeah, it's a mess. Okay. Where's that article? Where'd I put it? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so Dakota Johnson is not watching her Madam Web movie as a form of self-care. Dakota Johnson is choosing to sit out watching her newest movie, and her reasoning might be surprising. The star, who plays the title character in new superhero flick Madam Web, told Magic FM earlier this week that she doesn't know when she'll see the movie, vacillating between saying that she, quote, probably won't see it to vaguely stating that she will someday. But Johnson explained that it isn't about Madam Web specifically, and she actually doesn't like to watch any of her films. For me, it's a way to not have like an existential crisis, the 50 Shades of Grey actor explained. Not watching my movies is like self care. Johnson is not alone among actors who employ that strategy. Meryl Streep, Adam Driver, Emma Stone, Nicole Kidman, and more have also said they tend to avoid screening their projects. Madam Web stars Johnson as a clairvoyant paramedic and is tenuously connected to Sony Pictures' grouping of films that include both the Venom movies as well as 2022's Morbius with Jared Leto. Reviews for Madam Web have been less than enthusiastic with a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. When it comes to self-care though, at least Johnson knows the right answer to the question, do you Google yourself? No, God, no, the daughter of Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson told Magic FM this week. Oh my God, no. Well, I'm sure she'll be avoiding Google or social media in general for a while. Masters Maniac Mexico says, I was forced to go due to my wife. It turned out to be so annoying that I was even unable to sleep. Yeah, this is actually a good movie to doze off to, isn't it? But good thing here, wife is finally done with superheroes. Good times coming. So this one finally did it for her, huh? Well, it's not surprising. Now, and the thing is, of course, is this was quote made for a female audience, and it's like many of these female-driven movies, even women don't like them. Even well, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. Most of the people who saw Captain Marvel were men. Not even that many women went to see it. Okay. Let's see. What else have I got here? Okay, let me look at this one right quick because this is kind of maybe possibly kind of tangentially related because I think it's an interesting story. And this is from Bounding into Comics. Rumor Amazon Silk Spider Society axes entire writer's room. Spider Man spinoff being retooled for, quote, male skewing audiences, unquote. Huh. Interesting. According to the latest whispers vibrating through the World Wide Web, Amazon's upcoming Silk Spider Society has cleaned out its writer's room in service of a massive from the ground up retooling of the series' entire creative direction. Produced by Sony Pictures Television in partnership with Amazon MGM, the series is set to follow the story of one Cindy Moon, a young woman with her own set of spider powers who, per the series' official logline, quote, escapes imprisonment and searches for her missing family on her way to becoming the superhero Silk. Notably, notably, while its heroine's entire existence being closely tied to that of Spider Man, she receives her powers from the very same radioactive arachnid which resulted in his origin and is freed from her underground prison. Actually, a bunker meant to protect her from the spider person eating villain Morlun, thanks to his help. Whether or not the project will either establish a connection to or feature an appearance from the web slinger is currently unknown. No, he's not going to be in it. He's not going to be in it. Don't even try to claim, don't even try to pretend Spider Man will be in the show. This is due to the fact that Sony, whose television division is in charge of the series, shares the film and television rights to Spider Man with Marvel Studios. As such, any use of the web slinger is dependent on some level of agreement between the two, as seen with all his appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe proper, and whether or not one has been reached in regards to Silk. Spider Society has yet to be confirmed or denied. Though it first entered full production in 2022, the onset of the 2023 Writers Guild strikes resulted in the series being put on indefinite hold until the labor disputes eventually came to a close in September 2023. Following the strike's conclusion, Deadline reported that, per their sources, the Silk Spider Society's writers' room had been looking to get back in the saddle sometime in mid to late January 2023. However, if a recent report from entertainment news outlet The Ankler is to be believed, these plans for the writers' returns have instead turned into plans for a complete project restart. Relaying information provided to her by her supposed source, staff writer Elaine Lowe alleged that not only had the series recently, quote, let go of its entire writer's room, minus its showrunner and one of the co executive producers, unquote. despite them already having written several episodes, but that is also being, quote, refocused with a more male skewing audience in mind, unquote. A la Reacher, Jack Ryan, and The Terminal List, all three of which have been some of Amazon's most popular streaming offerings. When reached by Lowe, Amazon had offered no comment on her scoop. Alongside Spider Society, Lowe reports that Amazon is also making moves on their previously announced Spider Man Noir series, having entered negotiations with the heroes Into the Spider Verse voice actor Nicolas Cage to reprise the role in live action. Further, these two series are only two of the multiple live action Spider Man spin offs currently in the works at Amazon, though, as of writing, the company is keeping the identities of the other projects tightly under wraps. Huh. So I think this is very, very interesting. And Masters of Maniac Mexico says, once again, rumors about a new Master of the Universe movie are spreading, and it doesn't look too good. Yeah, you keep hearing stories every so often. I don't know. I'll believe it when they're actually shooting. Until then, I don't really pay it a whole lot of mind. Due to my info, it would be about Adam, who has been banned to Earth, doesn't know who he is, and is separated from the sword. Will they ever understand? Yeah. So what the movie? Okay, so it's He-Man, but he's not He-Man, and he's not an attorney. Yeah. Will they ever understand? No, they will never learn. Apparently. I guess I will do my own movie using my vintage figures. Can't be worse. There's some people who do that. They do stop motion stuff with the figures. Hey, not the worst idea. But actually, that kind of speaks a little to this article because I find it very interesting that Amazon is retooling this female superhero show to be male skewing to a male skewing audience due to the success of the Terminal List and what were those other shows? Where is it again? Yeah, it's Reacher, Jack Ryan, and the Terminal List. So I wonder, is this it? Is this the dam finally breaking? And they're finally waking up and realizing, oh yeah, this for female audiences, for modern audiences stuff isn't working. And we're gonna start uh making entertainment that appeals to men again. Because that seems to be what this is. The thing is, though, even if they do that, I don't see this Silk show being a success. Silk is not a popular character. Nobody cares about this character. And making it more appealing to men might help a little, but that's not going to make this show a success, I don't think. But still, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, what do we got next here? Okay, so let's stay with Marvel, I guess. So, some of the big news coming out this week is the Fantastic Four cast has been announced. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. The Fantastic Four cast revealed for Marvel movie. Marvel Studios has found its Fantastic Four: Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Moss Bachrach. How do you say it? Bachrach? I'm not sure how you say it. And Joseph Quinn will star as the heroes in the Fantastic Four. Pascal was previously reported to star as Reed Richards' Mr. Fantastic in the feature, while the others had been heavily rumored in recent months. Kirby will star as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn will play Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And Moss Bachrach will star as Ben Grimm, the Thing. The casting caps years of speculation over who might play the team. The film now has a release date of July 25th, 2025, and hails from WandaVision director Matt Shackman. Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer penned a draft of the script, with Avatar: The Way of Water scribe Josh Friedman working on a version as well. Marvel announced the news early Wednesday in a Valentine's Day Instagram message to fans. At the same time, Disney revealed the new release date and tweaked a title change, pushing back the film from early May to July isn't surprising considering the cast hadn't been finalized until now. But Marvel isn't giving up on the Prime May weekend date, which is considered the start of the summer box office season. Fantastic Four essentially swapped dates with the anti hero centric Thunderbolts, which will now open in theaters May 5th. Marvel's two other 2025 films, Captain America Brave New World on February 14th and Blade on November 7th, remain where they were. Now, see, it seems like I saw something about how that had fallen apart, that Blade was going to be delayed again. I don't know, maybe I saw something wrong. The Fantastic Four has been among Marvel's more anticipated films, perhaps because its team has never been done justice on the big screen. Roger Corman produced a low rent version in 1994 that was never released, while Fox and director Tim Story released a pair of films in 2005 and 2007 that received a mixed response and starred Ian Griffith or Yoan Griffith. I think that's how you say his name. Yoan Griffith, Jessica Alba, future MCU actor Chris Evans, and Michael Chiklis. Well, you can say it's received a mixed response, but I'm going to be willing to bet when this MCU movie comes out, this MCU version comes out, we'll be looking back at those Fantastic Four movies and being like, wow, remember how good those were? In 2015, Fox attempted to revive the franchise under director Josh Trank to disastrous results. A few years after that, Disney acquired Fox, opening the door for the Fantastic Four to enter the MCU. The Fantastic Four are a cornerstone of the Marvel mythos, with writer Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby introducing the team in 1961's Fantastic Four #1, the comic that would launch the Marvel Universe. The casting for the super team has closely what? Oh no, it's okay. The casting for the super team was closely watched and speculated about, with fan castings running rampant online. John Krasinski played a version of Reed Richards in 2022's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, who was quickly killed off. Pascal is one of the more in demand actors in Hollywood, with a busy schedule that includes The Last of Us and an upcoming Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Kirby was recently in Ridley Scott's Napoleon and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. She received an Oscar nomination for Pieces of a Woman. Mas Baccarat is among the key cast of The Bear, the acclaimed Chicago based restaurant series from Hulu. I never even heard of that. And Quinn is among the stars of the hit Netflix series Stranger Things and has Gladiator 2 coming up. Uh, so, I mean, as far as the cast goes, oh, here we got Masters Maniac Mexico says, I'm afraid of that one. They never did good with the F4. And what is it with Pedro Pascal? Yeah, Hollywood loves that guy. Um, I think it's because, well, I won't say. I'm not going to get into it. Um, I think you were right there, Fishers in the Dam. The only thing that I'm not sure is if it is not too late for them to turn the page. Uh, Maybe it is. I don't know. It's certainly going to take them years to crawl out of the financial hole that they've dug themselves into. Masters Maniac Mexico. And honestly, I'm at the point where I don't really care if it is too late. It wouldn't really bother me much. I would be glad to see these studios kind of come crumbling down. I've kind of had it up to here with them. But the thing with the Fantastic Four is the cast is actually better than I expected. I thought that I thought that there was going to be, well, not so many white people in it, to be blunt. And aside from Pascal, they are all Caucasian, more or less, which is a little surprising. Um, Now let me change the image here, or the article. Stop sharing that. Come on. Okay. That up. Ta-da. Okay. And this is from Variety. And of course, they talk about the casting announcement, but looking at them, so Vanessa Kirby, she seems fine for Sue, I guess. Although apparently she's already like in her mid 30s. That seems a little old. And the guy playing Johnny, he's already 30 himself. So they seem a bit old to be cast as those characters now. I mean, I don't know. But physically, I mean, they're fine, I guess. I'm not really familiar with this guy, so I don't know what to think of him. Now, the guy playing Ben Grimm, and I'm guessing they did this because Ben Grimm is Jewish in the comics, and this actor apparently is Jewish, so I'm sure that's why he got the part. But physically, he actually looks like he'd be a good Reed. If they had cast him as Reed Richards, I'd be more pleased with it. But of course, then you got this guy. And look, Pascal's a decent actor, and he'll probably acquit himself okay in the role. But I'm really just sick of this guy. I'm tired of him. I'm sick of his face. So, while it could have been worse, but I'm just not that enthusiastic about this movie at all. If it turns out to be good, I'll be surprised. And Masters Maniac Mexico says, I am out. I'm done. Sick with the old stuff, or stick with the old stuff. Even the toys have made me so angry that I basically quit collecting after 37 years. I started to invest in RC remote control cars instead. And you ask, so is Pascal a good actor, but is he the right fit? I mean, he'll probably be okay. He's not certainly not who I would pick, but he can probably pull it off. I hope. I don't know. I've never seen him play a character who's really smart, so who knows? Maybe he'll struggle with that. We'll see. But and there's a rumor, and I don't know how much of this is true, that supposedly the direction they're going to take with Fantastic Four is it's going to kind of be like the ultimate version of Fantastic Four in the comics, in their Ultimate Comics line, where in that version of the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards eventually became a villain, and I wonder if they're not going to do that here. It wouldn't surprise me, but you want to kill your franchise, sure, go ahead. Far be it from me to stop you. All right. See, and speaking of Marvel Comics, let me just go and bring this up right quick. And speaking of people getting desperate to make money, with these studios maybe starting to skew entertainment back towards male audiences, but apparently Marvel and DC Comics are getting desperate too. This comes from the Nerdist. DC and Marvel to reprint their legendary crossover event comics. So, for decades, the two titans of comic publishing, DC and Marvel, would occasionally cross over for special event comics. But we haven't had one of those in over 20 years. The previous crossover comics have remained out of print, available only via the back issue bins at your comic shop. Now, Marvel and DC are reprinting those beloved comics at last in two massive hardcover omnibuses collecting almost every single crossover, including the 90s DC versus Marvel event and its fallout, the fused together Marvel DC amalgam universe. With both omnibuses will be coming out this summer. Here's what we know so far about the DC and Marvel crossover comics reprint. Who would win? Superman versus Spider-Man? Batman versus Captain America? The X-Men meeting the Teen Titans? DC versus Marvel Omnibus collects crossovers between the core DC and Marvel characters, starting from 1976's Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man to 2000's Daredevil Batman. The collection includes stories from some of comics' most revered talents, names like Dennis O'Neil, George Perez, Dan Jurgens, Chris Claremont, Walt Simonson, J.M. DeMatteis, Mark Bagley, Jerry Conway, John Romita Jr., and more. DC and Marvel fans alike can't miss these thrilling pieces of unearthed comic book history. Specific issues included are Batman Captain America #1, Batman Daredevil #1, Batman Punisher Lake of Fire, Batman Spider-Man #1, Batman or Daredevil Batman, DC Special Series, Batman versus the Hulk, Darkseid versus Galactus, The Hunger, Green Lantern, Silver Surfer, Unholy Alliances, Incredible Hulk versus Superman, Marvel and DC presents featuring the Uncanny X-Men and the New Teen Titans, Marvel Treasury Edition 28, Superman and Spider-Man, Punisher, Batman, Deadly Knights, Silver Surfer, Superman, Spider-Man and Batman, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, and Superman Fantastic Four #1. This collection features stories first told in 1996. Or hold on. Okay, so DC Marvel The Amalgam Age Omnibus. This collection features stories first told in 1996 of the two superhero universes fused together into a new amalgam universe, combining DC's and Marvel's heroes, villains, and mythologies. The result was a series of unforgettable one shot comic books starring the likes of Dark Claw, Batman and Wolverine, Super Soldier, Superman and Captain America, Iron Lantern, Iron Man, Green Lantern, and many more. Among the creators are Peter David, Dan Jurgens, Mark Waid, Dave Gibbons, Ron Mars, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Gary Frank, Bill Sienkiewicz, Claudio Castellini, and more. This represents one of the most fun and unlikely periods in comic book history. The omnibus collects the 1996 DC versus Marvel series, issues 1 through 4, and the subsequent follow-up one-shots. Included is DC Marvel All Access 1 through 4, Unlimited Access 1 through 4, Bat Thing #1, Bruce Wayne Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Bullets and Bracelets, Challengers of the Fantastic, Doctor Strange Fate, Iron Lantern, Legends of Dark Claw, Lobo the Duck, Speed Demon, Spider-Boy, Super Soldier, Thorion of the New Asgods, X-Patrol, and more. We imagine that the rest of the amalgam issues like Amazon and JLX are also included. There will also be a treasure trove of behind-the-scenes material. Now, arguably the most famous of the Marvel and DC crossovers is not included here. We're talking about JLA Avengers. That 2004 comic event was the biggest and last of the crossover events. It was written by Kurt Busiek and drawn by the legendary George Perez. When Perez announced his terminal diagnosis in 2021, the two publishers rushed a very limited run reprint for charity, but it sold out almost instantly. We can only hope that the legendary title receives its own new deluxe edition. That's one book that should never go out of print. I agree. And yeah, so this is interesting. And I do think it speaks to how, uh, yeah, how desperate these comic book companies are getting, for lack of a better term. Master Maniac Mexico says, I would appreciate a reprint to get some issues I don't have. I guess they have to kick out anything that's worth some dollars. Yeah, I mean, it's worth getting. I may pick these up too, but these are hardcover omnibuses, so these aren't going to be cheap. You know, these are going to be pricey. So expect to pay through the nose for them. Okay. Um, yeah, 7:45 already. Okay, let me take a look at this. So on my last live stream, I talked about how Hasbro, despite rumors, Hasbro was not selling Dungeons and Dragons to the game company Tencent. Now, here's a bit of a follow up to that. And this is from ICV2. Hasbro loses 1.06 billion in Q4. Hasbro has reported a $1.06 billion loss for the fourth quarter, despite a positive contribution from its Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment. Both of Hasbro's other segments, consumer products and entertainment, showed big losses. Entertainment showed a $1.11 billion loss as Hasbro completed its sales of E1 assets, taking a loss, and wrote down the entertainment it kept. Consumer products, including toys and non-Hasbro games, lost $126 million. Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming showed a $103 million profit for the quarter, down about $1 million from Q4 2022. Company-wide sales took a big hit, down 23% to 1.9 billion from 1.68 billion in Q4 2022. Entertainment was down 49% and consumer products was down 25%. Wizards of the Coast in digital gaming was up 7%, driven by digital games, Baldur's Gate 2, and Monopoly Go. And yeah, that Baldur's Gate was a big hit for them. Tabletop gaming sales in the segment were near flat, down around 1 million to 266 million. Sales of Magic the Gathering, which include Wizards of the Coast digital game sales from the brand, were down about 2% from 258 million from 263 million in Q4 2022. For the full year, Hasbro lost 1.49 billion, swinging from a $204 million profit in 2022 on a 15% year-over-year sales decline to 5 billion. In addition to the entertainment write-offs, Hasbro took a 130 million in inventory write-down as it cut its inventory over 50% from the end of previous year. Sales in the Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment were up 10% to 1.46 billion in 2023, mostly behind the two hot video games Baldur's Gate 3 and Monopoly Go. Tabletop game sales in the segment were up 1%, a pretty anemic showing when you consider the scale of the Lord of the Rings release for Magic the Gathering. CEO Chris Cox gave something of an explanation in the conference call when he explained that Magic the Gathering tabletop sales were up 3 to 5% for the year. A 1% growth rate for Wizards of the Coast tabletop games and a 3 to 5% growth rate for Magic the Gathering tabletop sales leads to the inescapable conclusion that Dungeons and Dragons tabletop sales were down substantially on a percentage basis in 2023 as Magic sales dwarfed D&D's. The percentage move was much bigger. The OGL fiasco at the beginning of 2023, the lackluster performance of the Dungeons and Dragons movie, the announcements of upcoming updates to the core books likely all played a role. And I've talked about those things in previous live streams. Yeah, they've really, with that whole OGL thing, they really cut off their nose to spite their face. Still, Wizards of the Coast generated 1.07 billion in tabletop game sales in 2023, a healthy number. For 2024, sales in the Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment are expected to be down 3 to 5%, with tough comps against the launch of Baldur's Gate 3 and Monopoly Go and the tabletop Lord of the Rings release. Magic the Gathering tabletop sales are expected to be flat to down on the same number of releases as 2023, and D&D sales are expected to be up due to the updated release of releases and D&D Beyond, Cox said in the conference call. Hasbro expects Magic the Gathering to return to growth in 2025 when the company will start releasing 2 Premier Universes Beyond sets per year. The Lord of the Rings was the one Premier Universes Beyond set 2023. Marvel will kick off in 2025, for which Cox promised multiple releases in the call. Hasbro expects its board game sales to grow in 2024, but the overall consumer product sales are expected to decline 7 to 12%. Hasbro is in a much better position for profitability in 2024 due to its expense cuts. See Hasbro to lay off 11,000 employees, on which it expanded its estimates of savings from 350 to 400 million up to 750 million by the end of next year. Its margins will also improve as it will have a lot less inventory risk and lower write-downs, and it should be done with most of its disastrous losses in the entertainment segment. Overall, a tough quarter and year for Hasbro with hope of better times ahead. I really think that. Oh, wait, what is. Okay, so Masters of Maniac. Mexico said, "Well, I save a lot of money not going to bad movies anymore." Good call. Also, I'm pretty sure the Mexican bootleg industry will find a way to provide us as they always do. Ah, I see. I see. Very smart. And he says, Man, I put a sticker on some Black Panther stuff in my Walmart 2 years ago. They have been moved all over the shop and still haven't sold. They are stacked up at the dollar section now. Yeah, those most of that Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff is just collecting dust. And there was a story. I don't know if I remember I did it on my last live stream. I think I did that Hasbro is kind of getting fed up with Disney and they're looking to either greatly reduce the amount of business they do with Disney or move on, maybe. I don't know. Master, want a Spirocopter? We have 500 here that no one wants. Nah, I'm good. I'm good on Spirocopters. Thank you, though. Uh, Hasbro did support on D&D and D, and so many others has said they are done for me. I am so angry. Yeah, Hasbro, with that OGL thing, they've really, like I said, they really alienated a lot of people. The thing is, though, the article says that their digital gaming is up, and I think another thing they're doing that is maybe alienating some is their move to making D&D largely a digital online game. And I've talked about this before, so I won't go into it in further depth. But what's going to happen, I think, is most of the older fans are going to peel away, and they're going to have younger fans. But I don't know. I guess we'll see if it works out for them. Okay, and move on from that. What else have we got here? Only a couple more here. So let me do this one, and this is another Marvel related thing, and this is from Bounding into Comics. Newly leaked video suggests Disney's turn to politics was driven by Bob Iger's opposition to January 6th. We should be taking a stand. In recent years, the question of why exactly did Disney decide to throw their hats into the political ring has been burning on the tongues of everyone from the studio's casual viewers to their most vehement critics. And according to a newly leaked video, it appears the answer has all to do with one Bob Iger and the events of January 6th, 2021. While the House of Mouse, like most organizations, has quietly dabbled in politics behind the scenes by way of lobbyists and campaign donations, it was not until 2022 that they truly decided to throw their weight around on the political world stage. That year, after then CEO Bob Chapek initially declined to involve the company in the debate, Disney chose to publicly voice their opposition to Florida's Parental Rights in Education Act, which has since been passed into state law. We were opposed to the bill from the outset, and we chose not to take a public position because we felt we could be more effective working behind the scenes directly with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, Chapek told the public during the company's 2022 annual shareholder meeting. But despite weeks of effort, we were ultimately unsuccessful. I called Florida Governor Ron DeSantis this morning to express our disappointment and concern that if the legislation becomes law, it could be used to unfairly target gay, lesbian, or non binary and transgender kids and families. As noted above, the reason for the sudden shift in Disney's operational policy has long been a mystery to the public, with many a think piece and podcast having been dedicated to trying to figure out the company's rationale for the move. But now, thanks to the work of independent journalist Christopher A.F. Rufo, they may have finally received their answer. It appears much of Disney's turn to the political was motivated by then company chairman and current company CEO Bob Iger's opposition to the Washington D.C. riot on January 6th. In a video excerpt of a January 2021 internal company meeting obtained by Rufo, Iger can be seen speaking to the topic of Disney's role in politics, informing attendees, quote, we've tended to shy away from politics. And in doing so, I think we shied away from talking about issues that aren't political at all, like the issues that we are talking about today, because we believe in doing so looks like we're taking a stand, before declaring, well, in reality, we should be taking a stand. By the way, I take responsibility for this. I was CEO for 15 years, he continued. So, I managed the company's public facing processes and how we were portraying ourselves. And I think that we have to be less cautious, as I think Bob Chapek was just alluding to, about such things, and not be concerned. It was then that Iger raised the specific topic of January 6th, asserting, like, commenting on what happened last week in Washington. That's not political on our part at all. We know what we saw was fundamentally wrong, and it was rooted in hatred and disrespect and contempt and intolerance, and we should feel free as a company to comment about that without retribution. Though Iger's thoughts on Disney's political aspirations ends there, he then pivoted to praise the company's works in terms of diversity and inclusion on screen. Then we did Coco, for instance, at Pixar, a great example of that, said the Disney exec, or Tiana from Princess and the Frog, or Black Panther, of course, is one of the great examples of that. To this end, he then admitted, I allowed those things to make me feel a bit complacent in a sense. It's not that I wanted to be that way, but I thought, wow, we did Black Panther. How great are we? Easy, easy, Bob. I mean, for crying out loud, Blade was back in the 90s. There was a black superhero movie nearly 20 years earlier. Try not to thank yourself too much. And it caused me not to focus as much as I should have on the culture of the company and the environment, and then the voices that were telling those stories, as opposed to how they were just being portrayed on the screen. And I think this is back when maybe Iger still had reportedly had aspirations of running for president. And so I wonder if that may have had something to do with it, if he was doing that to help kind of burnish his political credentials a bit, possibly. Okay, it is 7:56. I got time for one more right quick, and this is another Bob Iger related one. And this is from comicbookmovie.com. Disney's Bob Iger admits Marvel Studios has lost focus, will lean into sequels and franchises going forward. Well, if you include remakes, then isn't that always what you've been doing? I mean, that's all you've been doing is sequels and remakes and franchises, pretty much. Last year, trade reports claimed that Disney intended to scale back on Marvel Studios content, both on Disney Plus and the big screen, and implement more of a quality over quantity approach going forward. Disney CEO Bob Iger pretty much confirmed this during a conference call last March, and has now reiterated that there will be a reduced volume of content with renewed focus on the studio's stronger franchises. And I'm going to guess that probably means we're bringing back Iron Man and Captain America and more Thor and Avengers. I'd say we're leaning a little bit more into sequels and franchises, Iger said during Disney's latest earnings call. What a laugh. Like, this guy, like, that isn't all that Disney has been doing. I think given the environment and given what it takes to get people out of their homes to see a film, leaning on franchises that are familiar is actually a smart thing, and our zeal to greatly increase volume, partially tied to this wanting to chase more global subs for our streaming platform, some of our studios lost a little focus. So the first step that we've taken is that we've reduced volume, we've reduced output, particularly in Marvel. This would certainly seem like a smart move, but will it be enough to renew audience interest in the MCU, or has the damage been done? The studio's most recent movie, The Marvels, was a sequel to a film that took in over 1 billion at the worldwide box office and ended up becoming the lowest grossing MCU entry yet. Elsewhere on the call, Iger listed some of the movies on Disney's 2025 slate, but left out a couple of MCU projects. Looking to our 2025 theatrical slate, we're excited to bring audiences Captain America Brave New World and Fantastic Four for Marvel. Pixar has Zootopia 2, and then there's Avatar 3. And we're already looking forward to 2026 and beyond with Frozen 3, the first Toy Story movie since 2019, and a new Star Wars movie that brings The Mandalorian and Grogu to the big screen for the very first time. Some have taken this as an indication that both Thunderbolts and Blade have been delayed or removed from the schedule entirely, and while that's certainly possible, we wouldn't jump to any conclusions just yet. Iger may simply have forgotten to mention those films. What do you make of Iger's comments? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, like that isn't what they've been doing all along. But to be fair, it is. What is it here? Message may come from Germany. I can smell propaganda 20 miles against strong winds. Shame on you, Bob. And Thor lost in plunder. Who needs that? Yeah. Well, I wonder if they're even going to do another Thor. I mean, you would think so, especially considering what's said in that article. But yeah, I mean, it's to be fair, Iger made a sensible statement. He said that it's hard to get people to come to the theaters now. And I think part of the reason why, because we all complain about sequels and remakes, but people keep going to them. And I think part of the reason is because movies are so expensive now. People don't want to go and plunk down, and spend 15 bucks on a ticket and then another 15, 20 on snacks or whatever, and then have a bad experience, and take a chance on some new movie that they may not like. But with franchises with these recognizable brands like Jurassic World or Jurassic Kingdom or whatever the hell it's called. I mean, when you go to a Jurassic Park movie or Jurassic World movie, you know what you're getting. You pretty much have an idea what you're going to see. Now, it might be great, it may be not, but you're probably not going to absolutely hate it. You're going to see people being chased around and eaten by dinosaurs, and it'll be kind of entertaining. But if it's some new title you're not familiar with, you may spend 50 bucks and then walk away with a bad experience. And people, money's tight now, and people aren't going to spend money on that. And I think that's part of the reason why sequels and remakes keep doing well and why people keep seeing them. And of course, that's why Hollywood keeps doing them. But anyway, we're at 8 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank everyone who tuned in during the stream. Thank you, Masters Made Mexico. It's always good to see you, sir. And those who will watch on a rewatch as well. After I sign off here, I'm going to be posting my Madam Web review, so I do hope folks will check that out. And also, while you're here, please do sub to the channel and check out some of my other videos and subscribe. And Masters Maniac says, thank you, sir. A great discourse tonight. God bless you, and please be safe. Same to you, sir. And have a good evening. And I will probably stream Tuesday evenings. I'm trying to do Star Trek related streams on Tuesdays. But I don't know. I may be too busy. We will see. Anyway, everyone, have a good night, and I will see you next week.